Yael Kaplan is a photographer, painter, and installation artist. She is my guest today. Yael is very sweet, loving, and authentic, and I do really enjoy talking to her. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. Yael talked about how the loss of her father made her question the purpose of her life and how this was a catalyst in embracing the path she wanted and not the path others felt was appropriate. We talk about how her art changes and continue to change as she transitions through stages of personal growth in her life. Yael speaks about how the modalities she works with are typically not selected intellectually, but rather are based on emotion. External cues can influence her choices, but the process is largely intuitive. We discuss the importance of light in her work, both her photography and her drawing. One of her current interests being the depiction of light within a dark spaces. We talk about the importance of playfulness in the creative process. Yael follows the advice she once gave to her students, remembering that there are no mistakes in the process of creation. In some of Yael's work, she uses simple everyday objects to create images that do not allow the observer to easily identify them. This is intentional as it allows the object to be experienced without the mind pre-existing conceptualization. We talk about how through listening to ourselves and being patient, we can learn to develop greater trust that the creative process will find its own way to completion. We start our conversation with Yael talking about her background and some early conflicts she grappled with in her career.
I study art, but my background, I started with graphic design because I learned photography and art when I was teenager. And then later, my mother all the time pressed that art is not good, it's not bringing money and stuff like this. So I went to this, also in the art school, there was a section there and I studied there. I work with graphic design years. I touched the spiritual side when I was working as and this is mainly important, when I was working as a graphic designer all of the years, and my father died, and something was past something. I mean, suddenly I realized there is a beginning and end, like we forget all the time there is an end. And I was and I didn't really want to do all the graphics design. I had the conflict all the time with this. Today I don't have the conflict. Then I had a conflict to do what the customer wants. I want to say what I want,
Yeah.
And I had all the time conflict with this. When my father died, I continued working, and it wasn't the place for me. I realized that I want to learn, and suddenly I had a back pain. Started to have back pain. I couldn't sit on the computer by accident. Then I thought to myself, okay, if there's an end, I focus in the main time. What I want to do. This is what I want to do. At this moment, no, I don't want to do art. So before I realized that, I went to study. I applied to study something very hard to get to learn graphic design. I didn't understand yet. So I started from thousands, they picked 15 and they picked me. I didn't believe it. So I started to learn there 1 week, and they started the issue with the customer. And then I realized, and I applied to art school. It was already a few months after they finished after they started to learn. And I said, what I'm doing here with this place that I'm study graphic design. I understand this is not my place. So I tried to call this art school. Eventually, they had enough for me. They invite me to an interview, and they said, the manager said, it's already full, everything, and what can I do with you? I can put you in a 3 class, after 3 years class, but it's everything full. Can you go inside a 2nd class? I said, no problem. So I was sitting outside under a pink tree. There is a big pink tree there, and cried because I found my place. It was a journey for me.
In the moment that you lost your father, and in another moment that you had the pain in the back, it changed something in you.
Yes, it's bring me to think about my life. What if there is an end? Do I really doing what I want to do, what my passion to do? And actually, the pain gets worse, and then I have a small accident. An accident never came by accident. And it was, and I had problem with the back, really problem. So I started to do kind of therapy for this.
Yeah.
And then I get open all this spiritual side, slowly by slowly. And when you dive in this, it's only grow. I think it's never stop. You just want to learn more and more and more, because you learn about the universe. I think it's connected.
When we go through some transformation, difficult time or change, sometimes our art practice change with that. The technique we use, the meaning of art also change. Did you have these changes in your work?
For sure, I'm changing all the time. And you can see it in the art, and everybody, I think it's reflect his soul in a way, and his journey also. It must be in the art in a way.
You also wrote you examine dig, cut, tap, so combine a variety of directions, style, and mediums. How do you choose your medium? Because I know you work with different medium like photography, painting, drawing, installation. But how do you choose? Is it related to the subject?
It's mostly related to what's going inside of me. Sometimes I get a project, you have a subject. So I say, what's coming passion with me mostly. I think it's come from inside mostly.
Yeah.
In what stage I am, what the things that I'm interested in, and what I'm passing by. So it's related to this.
So it is about more how you feel rather than the subject you choose. It's not about the subject, it's about what's going on in that moment.
Basically, yes, but it's combined with outside. I mean, it's also related. It's not only out like a bubble inside, it's with relationship with the outside.
Yeah. Do you see the process of abstraction as a meditative, a spiritual journey that dives into the depth of the soul?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes there were stages that I was in a meditative state for a while, even that I'm not meditated. I mean, when I'm aware, but you are in state of mind, and I can see vision. I photo, so what I photo, I can see what it is, what I'm looking there, and it completely wasn't what I photo. I took it someplace else, but I was so in the process of the meditation. So, yes.
That's interesting. You also work with the concept of aura. Are you creating a discussion on the physical and metaphysical nature of light? Because I know you're very fascinated with light.
For photographer, everything is the light. It's come from the light, you know. So basically, it's come from there. You look on the light. You observe the light all the time. I think it's affect my drawing also. I think I look on the drawing from a different point of view, from the point of light.
In your work, I see the element of light is very strong. I know it's that the photography is all about light, but is it unconscious or is it something you really connect? What is it when you sit and you paint or draw the concept of the light, or when you take a picture?
With the picture, I'm more aware of the light. Basically, all the time when I look, I'm interested in the light. When I draw, it's not conscious, but it's so inside of me, so I don't even think about it. I started to draw with a silver marker and pencil on black paper. And then I started to check, to investigate. So I always investigated for different ways, and I'm really digging, you know, usually, until I decide what I'm happy with or feel content with it. So I started to photo it, and then I noticed because of the silver light, the silver marker and the pencils, that every angle it's looked different because of the light. The light fell on it, and it's looked different for every angle. So it's fascinated for me. This is pieces of work that it's printing that I did in darkroom on in Hebrew it's paper. It's only paper without any. It's look completely matte, more matte than matte when you print it in the darkroom. And I draw them on with a pencil and a silver marker. So this, of course, every side it's look different. And I wanted to do an installation from this. Until now, I did already 70 pieces. I want to do an installation of, and then to play with the light in a dark space, to play with spots. At the beginning, I think I thought I will put everywhere, and then I started to combine few. So it maybe, so I'm still working on it. This is, you can see the silver marker here, and then it looks very interesting when you photo it. This is a photo of it.
It's very surreal to me. It's like I'm under the ocean. How I feel.
Yeah. I heard it so many times about my work, you know, even some of the photos that it's related to creature under the water or something under the water. It's very interesting.
I really do like your technique. Even though you're explaining, I totally don't understand how you do it, and that's not very important. But what is important is the result of your work. So the fact that I can't even guess how you did it, it's make it even more interesting.
I play a lot, you know, I don't put borders for myself because, and when I teach, I used to teach also, I used to say to my students that, you know, you can't get to this work if you did all the, so don't put, if you criticize yourself, you don't develop. So leave it. Well, how can it be, you know, what can happen, you know? So just do it, create, and then you get, and then this is how it's developed. It's when you work, things happens, you know.
You also do installation. You have a series called Land Installation. You work with land and soil that provides seeds, half male, half female. I read this on your website and I really like that. And you work also with rice.
Yes.
Could you talk about that installation?
This work, I started to do it during loss of my uncle, that he died suddenly. He was young, very sudden. He died from cancer. During this time, I did this. I was working on this installation, thinking about life, the circle of life. I want to express it in the work. So this work was connected to these thoughts. So it was a process. I wanted to take the rice because it's very common thing in the East, and in the East also there is a kind of ceremony with the birds, that they eat the dead, and so I wanted to use the rice as a food. And also it's gone, you know, after a while it's gone. It doesn't stay there, it's an open gallery. You
wanted to represent circle of life, and you get inspired by the ritual in East. So it's very interesting that you come with the idea and its connection with your audience. Your audience is actually, it's not only human. You attract birds and animal, and it's kind of the connection between all this. It's like you made this piece for them as well.
I want to say something that made me think about my process. That when I give trust to the universe that bring me the idea and the process, and so I don't press myself. I know it will come, you know, it will come. Just be patient, listen, you know, to pay attention and to come. So it's work with me, like it's work with me. It's not, I'm like a channel, only channel, you know, not channeling, but it's like a, how do you say, a channel, I think, like something deeper. So anyway, you more you trust and you open, so it's working with you. So this is how I feel when I am working.
I love your work, the shady side of the mountain. It's very feminine. You work with the concept of feminine element of the cosmic universe. They work like cell, core, landscape, bipolar, period, all of those. Could you talk about these pieces?
This is the time that I started to see I was a kind of a meditated state. And I started to see, I was very aware of what I want to inside, not by mind, not by what I'm looking. So I worked with photograph. Mm-hmm. And this, what I saw basically was objects that immediately I know where I want to take them. I used to photo things that it's not really, you cannot really understand what it is when I photo it. And I wanted to express something there, to say something there. The mountain is round and feminine. The shady side is introvert, close, passive, and dark. What's coming out in the shadow can be changed any minute. The shady side of the mountain represent not permanent situation that change and can change. So I'm looking for a way to net a path for the audience or the one who watch, while using the source of light that project to the photo in a ritual way. It's related to feminine sides.
You basically took in the feminine energy around the nature element, and then you work with that. So it has a kind of energy of femininity there.
Yes, yes.
So what this cell represent?
It can be many things, you know, it can be, everybody see it differently. It can be an egg. It can be completely universe in a way. It can be a womb. I didn't create it and I have in mind what it is. I created it as a figure that intuitive related to my feeling, to my state of mind.
Cell can represent many things. The cell in your work can represent uterus, womb, can represent egg, it can represent anything that from that cell, everything will be created. And creation is a feminine energy.
If I think about God or creation, I do believe that it's feminine. I think it's feminine. It can't be something else, because feminine bring more life. So for more reason.
That's why we call it Mother Nature. What's really interesting to me is that in this series, you have variety of image. Some of them are really connected to the body part of women, and some of them are everyday objects, or you get them from nature. And somehow they have a story.
This work is, I photo my brush. It's my brush, and I took the hand of the brush.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Yeah, you want us as an audience, as a viewer, to see what you want us to see, but not what it was.
Yes, this is not relevant what it was. It's relevant the process, how you experience that.
Yeah.
That you will have the experience of the work, the feeling of the work, and and everybody sees something different.
Exactly.
Also, I also want to say, I exhibit in Italy five of my work from the Shady side of the mountain together, and there was Polish artists there, and not so young. He was standing there, looking there. It was an installation, and then he looked at me and said, "But where is the man?" It was so good.
Does your art represent something about you?
I'm sure it does, but I'm not aware of it. It's very, sometimes before about my work, I don't know if you can see it now, because I'm changing, and I like to change, and I'm open to change it.
Do you use the images from the past and then recreate with them?
But it's happened to everybody, I think, and it's I play with it, with the negative. I put it back to the positive, and it looked to me amazing, like a poetry for me.
So it's beautiful. Let's talk about the community. You live in a small community.
Yes.
How does that experience look like?
Most of the social life, artists or all the exhibition or anything is in the city, but it's not so far away from here. I can go there, and most of them friends of mine, so it's my friends, so. But nature is very important to me. I grew up close to nature, so it's very. I tried to go and live in the city, but I didn't like it. I came back to the village.
It's a very different experience. I grew up in a big city, but I do like to live in a small community and surrounded mostly with nature rather than buildings.
I think this is what basically the human nature is like this, but we forget. The human nature is, you're much more open and developed when you're in the nature, close to nature.
I had an amazing time with you. You're brave.
Me too.
And love you so much.
Me too.
Thank you.